In deciding on our next WTF celebrity to cover, we passed around several names. But in the end, we all decided that there could only be one. Despite being basically blind, Christopher Lambert, or Christopher Lambert if you're French, made a name for himself as the king of sci-fi action films. Some good, and a lot bad. But he was always good in them. One could say he single-handedly kept Blockbuster Video in business for at least a few years, as most of his output in the 1990s made their debut on the bottom shelves of the video rental chain. But somehow they stood there with honor. And actually, many of the times that we took those direct-to-video Lambert risks, we were pleasantly surprised. Or at least we had fun. But few performers have made their mark on the international stage like Christopher Lambert. Christophe Lambert. Alternating between North American schlock and more prestigious French fare. Despite most people knowing Lambert mainly for two iconic roles, maybe three, there's a whole bunch more to know about this American-born French actor. So yeah, it's time we find out what the f*** happened to Christopher Lambert. I'm saying it that way because I'm American. But to truly understand what the f*** happened to Christopher Lambert, we must begin at the beginning, and the beginning began when he was born on his birthday, 1957, New York? That is because Christopher's father was a French diplomat stationed in New York at the United Nations before moving to Switzerland when he was 2 years old and finally returning to Paris. So yeah, he spent his teen years growing up in France. Lambert would get a taste for the arts at a young age by acting in a play at 12 years old, before making the leap to the screen with small roles in a series of French films where he was credited as Thug at the Dance Party and Jockey under his original name, Christophe Lambert. But it would be 1984, the year, not the book, that would introduce Lambert to American audiences, when director Hugh Hudson was looking to cast an unknown actor in his updated take on the classic story of Tarzan called Greystoke, The Legend of Tarzan, Lord of the Apes. Director Hudson says the casting came down to two people, Christopher Lambert and another unknown actor named Viggo Mortensen. But it was Lambert that got the part of Tarzan for a very specific and strange, unusual reason. You see, Christopher Lambert is nearly blind, like he's very, very nearsighted. And director Hugh Hudson loved the fact that when Lambert took off his glasses, his gaze felt like he was looking straight through you. But in reality, he was just trying to focus and he couldn't see. But, you know, let's use this blind guy's confused face and make some movie magic is what he thought. And it worked. Greystoke, The Legend of Tarzan, Lord of the Apes is a very interesting film. It's raw, it's gritty, it ain't no Disney cartoon. It's kind of beautiful and kind of traumatizing, and once you see Lambert, you know, in the trees with the monkeys, you're like, yeah, this guy, this is the perfect person to play Tarzan. He looks like he grew up in the frickin' jungle. The film will go on to receive several Academy Award nominations, and become the 15th most successful film at the box office that year. With his star on the rise, Lambert would return to France to make two more movies, Perros et Musique and Luc Besson's Subway, for which he would win the Caesar Award for Best Actor in 1986. That same year, Lambert would secure his legacy to the American audiences in America by appearing as the only one, you know, Connor in Highlander. With how well this film is regarded in today's cinematic culture, you would assume that Highlander would be a massive success when it was released, right? Well, you're incorrect yet again in that assessment, as the film Highlander 1 had a $19 million budget and only made back $12.8 million at the theaters. That could be because when it was released, most critics called it entertaining but a total mess. But they're like totally wrong, and if it is a mess, it's a fun mess. Luckily, the film found an audience when it hit VHS. That's the one that came before DVD. With the eventual success of Highlander, Christopher Lambert would fully launch his North American career. Only problem is, none of his English language films really seem to make an impression. His next 4 films, The Sicilian, Priceless Beauty, To Kill a Priest, and Why Me, combined for a worldwide gross of less than $10 million. By 1991, Christopher Lambert would return to the role of Highlander in Highlander 2, The Quickening, which actually brought the legacy of Highlander down a peg, as this film has gone on to be recognized as one of the worst films ever made, which can be attributed to the studio cutting the film separately from the director's vision and rearranging the scenes and presenting them in a stripped-down 91-minute version of the film. Years later, a renegade cut of the film was released, restoring some special effects and the director's original vision. Speaking of cutting, one of Lambert's fingers was partially chopped off during a sword fight gone wrong. Ouch! But yeah, this one only made $15.6 million at the box office. But it's not Christopher's fault, you guys. He didn't even have his full finger, so, you know. After appearing in the 1992 film Night Moves, opposite his soon-to-be ex-wife Diane Lane, Christopher Lambert would decline to star in the Highlander TV series, opting to appear in just the show's pilot episode to help launch the new show. Mr. Lambert would ask for a reasonable fee of just $50,000 for his work in the episode, but a French investor balked at that request and had Christopher written out of the show. This infuriated other investors who felt like you needed that connective tissue to launch the show, so Christopher Lambert was written back into the series, but by this time Christopher was so annoyed by how he was treated and eventually filmed his role in the show for $500,000. He added a zero to his original request. He would finish 1992 by starring in another sci-fi action film called Fortress, and it's a pretty kick-ass sci-fi flick that took place in the distant future of 2017. Fortress was actually a major hit in Europe, as big as the first Highlander. But yeah, Fortress, it's a Christopher Lambert hidden gem, a hidden fortress. And this was originally supposed to be a Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, which you can kind of see that. But Arnie dropped out and the budget dropped down. But I think it was kind of for the best, because Lambert, he's perfect in this. Then came the year 1994, and that would see Christopher Lambert star in another low-grossing action film called Gunmen, which is also kind of kick-ass, while also getting into the direct-to-video business with the film Road Flower. But he would finish that year, 1994, by getting high again with the Highlander, the Final Dimension. This time, this film would ignore the events of the poorly received Highlander 2, which has like 0% tomatoes if you care about tomatoes. But even by trying to right that wrong, Highlander 3, the Final Dimension, would only improve on the second film by like 5% tomatoes. If you believe what the tomatoes say. And you know what's kind of funny to me? For as well regarded as the Highlander franchise seems to be, it kind of appears that nobody actually likes these Highlander movies except for the first one. And if they do like it, it's like an ironic kind of like, which is still fun. But yeah, many have called this third installment borderline unwatchable. But as many of us of a certain age know, it isn't the Highlander films that made us love Christopher Lambert. Nope, it's a certain film that came out in 1995 that made all the nerdy little boys in the 90s stop and take notice. After appearing in another box office bomb with The Hunted, he would join the cast and become part of the highly anticipated big screen adaptation of Mortal Kombat. The producers originally offered his role to Sean Connery, who turned it down. He said, "Give it to the Highlander." I'm just assuming he said that. And then producers went to Lambert, who gladly accepted the role, turning this iconic video game character into an iconic cinema character, I guess. Although not everybody was pleased with his casting. In today's political climate, where everything must be criticized for everything, some people have taken issue with Christopher Lambert's casting in this video game movie Mortal Kombat. As these people who say these things say that the character should have been played by an Asian actor. And let me just check really quick here. Christopher Lambert, he's a white man, Caucasian. But he's not in the newer one, so they can just watch that if they want to. And I'm not much of a gamer. I have played Mortal Kombat back in the 1990s. a few times, so I can't exactly speak for this character, but I can say that Lambert's performance in Mortal Kombat is the reason why this movie kind of almost works. He has just the right amount of cheese and schlock and seriousness all wrapped up like a brilliant burrito of acting. Or I mean, brilliant egg roll. And yeah, being in Mortal Kombat, well, it paid off, as that film remains his highest grossing film at the domestic box office, with just over $70 million and a $122.1 million worldwide take off a $20 million budget. Good job, video game movie. It is no surprise that they quickly greenlit a sequel, and of course, when we went to go see that sequel, we noticed that it was a different actor, because Christopher Lambert said that the script was not good enough. So yeah, he was annihilated from Annihilation, which is an abomination across the nation. But it would not be the last time we would see, or well, hear Mr. Lambert in the Mortal Kombat universe, as he would lend his voice to the 2020 video game Mortal Kombat 11. And there were talks of him returning for the reboot, but that never materialized. Christopher Lambert, or Christophe Lambert's films never seemed to be critical darlings, but his fans, well, we never really gave a f*** because he gave us such a fun, exciting, raw, and gritty mixture of sci-fi and action that was truly something to see. A different type of acting. His face told us everything we needed to know. He's so mysterious, so strange looking, but he also looks just like a normal guy, so you can relate to him, yet also be amazed by him at the same time, if that makes any sense. He exists in this gray zone of action star and character actor. There's really nobody like him. And after the financial success of Mortal Kombat, you would expect Christopher Lambert to see, a boom in his career over the next years. But unfortunately, he just didn't catch on with the Hollywood mainstream. And the only place that you could really find him was at home, as his films tended to be, direct to video, even though there's not anything necessarily bad about that. He's an artist who makes us think with explosive sci-fi action, but there were quite a few that didn't really offer substance. There were films like North Star, Adrenaline, Fear the Rush, Mean Guns, Resurrection, Beowulf, and Gideon. By the year 2000, Lambert decided to step back into some familiar territory by reprising two of his biggest roles, his characters from Fortress and Highlander, as he was in Fortress 2 Re-Entry and Highlander Endgame, which was a wonderful little combination of the film series and the television series. But both films kind of failed to make an impression, and were quickly forgotten about. Until right now. Throughout his career, Christopher Lambert would alternate between English language films and French ones, where they speak French. In America, audiences recognized him as a B-movie legend, while in France, he was able to take on different types of roles. He was kinda like a respected art house French dude in France. After appearing in several films in both countries that didn't really move the needle in his career but kept him busy, including a role in the notorious Richard Kelly film Southland Tales that, f***ing flopped all over the place, flopping around, floppity flop flop, and two films with his girlfriend at the time, Sophie Marceau, Lambert would actually earn some of the best reviews of his career when he starred in the French drama White Material, about a woman who stays with her coffee crop when civil war breaks out in Africa. Critics seemed almost shocked at Lambert's performance in the film, saying that he gives a surprisingly fragile performance. So yeah, the dude can act, y'all. He's got range, fragile range. White Material has gone on to be hailed by many publications as one of the best films of the 21st century. With that type of praise finally getting people to pay attention to Lambert again, and some of those people that paid attention to Lambert were the people who were making Ghost Rider, Spirit of Vengeance, in 2011, and that would be his highest grossing film at the worldwide box office, making around $135 million. So yeah, Lambert was in the big times again, if Ghost Rider is big time to you. From here, it seems like Lambert had some kind of epiphany, and decided to focus on becoming a supporting player in more respectable projects. He would appear in 6 episodes of the hit TV series NCIS Los Angeles, and would receive a nomination from the Monte Carlo TV Festival for Outstanding Actor for a miniseries, La Source, before appearing in the Coen brothers' underrated film Hail Caesar. That's right, Highlander got to work with the Coens, and he did a very good job, while also appearing as himself in the French TV series called Call My Agent, Christopher Lambert as Christopher Lambert. Of course, he hadn't completely gotten out of the direct-to-video game, taking the villain role in the Jean-Claude Van Damme sequel, Kickboxer Retaliation, in 2018. That same year, he appeared in the critically heralded Russian-language Holocaust film, Sobibor, and he would appear opposite Julianne Moore and Ken Watanabe in Bel Canto. The following year, fans of The Blacklist could see Lambert as a political assassin in 4 episodes of the hit show's 6th season. So yeah, although his output isn't as frequent as it was in the 90s, Mr. Lambert has kept himself busy enough, appearing in the critically acclaimed Italian film It's Not Over in 2022. He has written 2 French-language novels, and is a successful businessman in the food and beverage industry, so he's got that to fall back on. Lambert says that in his early 30s he had so much ambition, enough for 2 lifetimes, so he decided to pursue other things in between films, as he knew that acting alone would not sustain him. He has invested in several ventures over the years, such as a mineral water company, a food packaging company, a wine company, property development, and the recycling industry. The man is an entrepreneur. Christopher Lambert became a legend in nerd pop culture for a couple iconic characters, and made a living by appearing in movies that, little boys in the 90s would say, "Yeah, sure, I'll rent that. It's got some sci-fi and explosions in it. And that guy with that face." So yeah, that is Christopher Lambert. The dude is a mystery. The parts you see of him on the screen, well, that's only a portion of this man. He's so much more. He's a highly intelligent person with a business mind and an artist mind, and he's pretty good at swords. But he's one of the few actors out there who know and truly understand that this career, it's a risky one. It's a risky business. And anybody's career in this land of Hollywood weirdness, anybody's career can just fall, can just fart away in the wind at any moment. And Mr. Highlander here, he's smart enough to know that. But the thing even he didn't count on is, people like Christopher Lambert. They love him. And that is why these iconic characters have withstood the test of time, and have only gotten better, aged perfectly like some science fiction wine from 2017. And I do believe that Christopher Lambert likes being Christopher Lambert. Well, he at least likes being the Highlander. He has some fun with it, as on his official Instagram page it says,
"This is my official Instagram account, because there can be only one."
Get it? Because a Highlander, there can only be one. But yeah, he's famous not just in North America, but all around the world, and even that France place. Yeah, Lambert, he's a force to reckon with. He even has 8 more movies currently in various stages of production right now. It is for these reasons and so many more that nobody should give a f*** about what the f*** happened to Christopher Lambert, because he's doing just fine.